Joining us now to break down what these races mean moving forward is Paris Dennard, a Senior Communications Advisor for the Republican National Committee. So, Paris, last night, a lot of Republicans are saying was a pretty big night for the party. We look at the fact that they won a special election in Wisconsin. They won a special election in Southern California, which is actually surprisingly going to be a very big area for Republicans if they want to take back the House. What is your takeaway from last night's elections?
I think last night's elections show two things. One, that Donald J. Trump is still a very competitive force moving into November, that candidates are not running away from him, they're running with him. They want his support. And when the president gets involved, the overwhelming majority of the time, those candidates win. And that's a very good thing for the Republican Party. The second thing it shows is that the Republican Party is strong. Our message is strong. Our messengers are strong. And when you look at California in particular, that's a Mexican-American, first-generation gentleman who won that seat, as well as being a veteran. And that's a seat that we flipped. And you look at Wisconsin, that's a seat that we held. These are positive indicators of the power of the RNC under the leadership of Ronna McDaniel. It is a good thing, and it's momentum, and it shows that Donald Trump's message and the president himself is still effective moving into November in spite of all of the challenges of COVID-19.
And I think it speaks to the idea that a good candidate is really the best thing that you can put on the ticket. It's not just whether or not they have an R or a D next to the name, because I really look at that one in Southern California, because that was one that an area where a lot of people thought that it was going Democrat and it may not ever come back. I mean, it voted for Hillary Clinton, I believe, the first time for a Democrat in 2016. Katie Hill then took that seat, I think for the first time since 1993 where a Democrat held that seat. But then we see it go back to the Republican, at least in the special election. Do you think that that foreshadows a possible, I hate to use the term, but red wave as compared to a blue wave that we saw in 2018?
Look, these are special elections, and the Republican Party, under the leadership of Ronna McDaniel and with President Trump at the helm as our commander-in-chief, have been very successful with special elections. But I think what this shows is that the Republican Party is competitive. We are still going to compete, and we're going to compete in unlikely places, and we're going to do well, just like the president did well in 2016 when he got places like Michigan. Winning states like that show that the Republican Party, with a message and policies to back now from 4 years of this administration, can be effective, can be competitive, and we are excited about the momentum heading into the Republican National Convention and then into November. I think we are seeing what a lot of people have been seeing for a while, which is the record, the promises made, promises kept record of Donald J. Trump actually working and being implemented, and people responding positively to it.
And I think it's important to also look where that one in Southern California was from. It's a suburb, essentially, outside of Los Angeles. It's just northeast of Los Angeles. It's not like we're talking about Texas or anything here, a Republican stronghold necessarily, although that district is known to be that. But those are the type of regions that are going to be important if the Republicans want to take back the House. We can talk about what President Trump has to do in states such as Michigan, Wisconsin, and stuff like that. But that's not to say that Republicans can't be competitive in areas outside of New York, outside of Los Angeles. When you get to those suburbs, that's where independents and moderates generally are. But when we come to President Trump, you talk about his record and how it really matches up for working class people, and I think you're right to say that. Does that suggest that the 2020 race may fall on the states such as Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, those Beltway states once again?
I think there's no doubt that those states are in play. That's why you've seen a lot of energy and attention going there. But I think that the president is having a message that resonates with them. And when you look at the alternative, when you look at Joe Biden, his Green New Deal, and the socialist policies that they're trying to put in place, and the draconian measures that a lot of these Democrats are proposing right now, even under COVID-19, and the fact that the president is working very well with Democrat governors, that is showing bipartisanship, that's showing leadership in crisis, and that is a wonderful recipe for success for this administration and for this president and for the Republican Party.
And you talk about Joe Biden's record, too, and it's something that I don't think we can talk about enough, because even if it wasn't necessarily him going up against President Trump, his record doesn't really resonate among those type of states. We can talk about NAFTA and how that killed productivity in the Midwest. We can talk about his vote for the Iraq War, something that just is not a popular thing in general. We can talk about his approach to China. Even before coronavirus, a lot of Americans were saying it's time to hold China accountable. That's why the president, of course, implemented tariffs. When it comes to his record, is it just not a good record to run on?
Not only does Joe Biden have a losing record, the record is not going to stand anywhere close to President Trump's clear record of achievement. Any Democrat or Republican would love to have the record of success that President Trump has had in the first term of his administration. And Joe Biden is more focused on putting China first rather than putting the American people first. And I think the American people are going to see that more and more. When you look at what he did to dismantle manufacturing jobs and supporting China going back to the WTO and the thousands of manufacturing companies that closed because of that, that had a disproportionate impact on the Black community. And Joe Biden still has feelings for supporting China when he should be standing up and putting America and Americans first, especially in a time of crisis. The president's record stands alone.
Yeah, and a lot of people saying Joe Biden's record won't stand the test of time, let alone the test over the next couple of months. And that's really where it's going to matter when we're talking about the 2020 election. It'll be really interesting to see how the people in those states resonate to his messaging as he eventually comes out of his basement and starts laying out his policy proposals a little bit more distinctly. But Paris Dennard, always a pleasure talking to you. Thanks for coming on tonight.
Anytime. Thanks for having me.